Welcome to the Grit Growth Podcast with hosts Carson Stefanelli and Matt Webster. Our mission is to build grit in people. Our vision is to restore American grit to its former glory. Here, you will find inspirational interviews of strife, spirit, ultra accountability, and ultimate triumph, all in the form of casual conversations. You can join the Grit Growth movement to build an unprecedented force of conquerors both in business and in life at www.gritgrowth.org. Commit to conquer, lead your life, leave a legacy, gather your grit, and let's get after it.
You know, Carson, kind of as we get into this podcast, and we look at, you know, the creation of Grit Growth, and so I got to take a step back and say, hey, this is not my creation at all. This is your creation. You know, and the lunches that we had, where it was just, you know, kind of two peers going out to lunch and bouncing ideas off each other, and really work related. You know, being former coworkers. Being in the industry, kind of maybe in different capacities, but still that opportunity to learn from each other. And then, you know, there was a day where you had the confidence in me, and I appreciate that. Thank you to divulge that, hey, I'm working on something bigger, something that I've got a passion around outside of my day job, that I'd really like to take to the next level with Grit Growth, the reestablishment of American grit. You know, how can, you know, in your words, how can I help others realize their grit to move forward, be better in life, whatever that might be for them, you know, however they define that. And we kind of talked around that. We you know, talked about the book that you're writing, that you're editing now, which is awesome. I'm looking forward to that. But, you know, what are other ways that we can reach people? And the podcast idea kind of came out, and I think that's when I jumped aboard the ship with you. For the podcast here, you know, but there's a lot more behind kind of just the podcast, the Grit Growth. You know, we're interviewing entrepreneurs right now, you know, kind of in this first season. We want to focus that on entrepreneurship, but there's so many different aspects we can take this. But if you get, you know, as we sit here today, tell us kind of where it started for you, kind of what is sparked the passion, the backstory to Grit Growth.
Yeah, so it all started during COVID, which affected me less than a lot of other people, which I'm thankful for. But what it did force me to do is job site meetings were greatly reduced, and office time was reduced, and I was working from home more. So I was just alone with my thoughts more. It was quiet. And I rediscovered Simon Sinek's Start With Why. So I got to give him some credit. That's a really big factor in me going down this path, because I realized that grit is my why. I realized that it's something I'm passionate about. It's something I was raised on. It's a, you know, kind of a founding primary principle of my childhood, the way I was parented. And I realized also that it's the thing I love the most about my wife. It's why I was attracted to her way back in high school. We were high school sweethearts. And one of the primary reasons why we have succeeded thus far in marriage and building a life together is our grit and passion to always work it out, relentlessly work things out, and not take no for an answer. There is no giving up. There is no, this isn't just going to work. It's not an option. It's never been an option. So I relate all that back to grit. So I had this epiphany during COVID, decided I wanted to write a book, which just is kind of whimsical and a knee-jerk reaction. Like, I just had this thought and I said, I'm going to write a book, and I have no business writing a book, but I'm doing it anyway.
Just like a little cartoon, and the light bulb kind of goes in. Ding!
Exactly. Yep. And then next thing you know, I'm up at 5 o'clock every Saturday morning, and I'm typing away. So I got like 35,000 words, and supposedly that's good enough for a self-help type book. So anyway, that's a story maybe for another time when I get done. But yeah, so I'm working from home a lot. Had this realization, start writing the book. Meanwhile, I'm also doing research, and the research on the topic that I discover is mostly academic. There's not a lot of real practical application, at least not defined as grit the way that psychologists define it. So psychologists define it as passion and perseverance for long-term goals. And my favorite researcher on the subject, Angela Duckworth, she's made all of her work based around basically that grit or work ethic or passion and perseverance is superior to raw talent in the long run. And it's kind of like, in my research, you also come across stories of Navy SEALs and getting through BUDS training and Hell Week. And they say the same thing. You can look at a guy who's perfect peak physical condition, athlete versus a normal, I think they call guys like me that are 5'9", 200 pounds, super medium guys. They're not.
No, you're a Smurf, dude.
Smurf. Okay, I'll take it. That's fine. The other one I've heard is ogre. But anyways,
that's a different story.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, they get through that hellacious trial on grit alone. It's the simple unwillingness to give up, and giving up not being an option, pushing through. It's the power of one more step, one more rep, one more push. You can always do one more no matter how tired you are. So in hearing all these different stories, and back to Angela Duckworth, she talks about basically no matter what application you're looking at it, she interviewed and did research studies across pro athletes, Olympians, all the way down to I think it was maybe middle school aged spelling bee champions. So a broad cross section there, of lots of different types of people. And basically she kept getting that same result, that work ethic and tenacity was constantly besting people with more natural talent. So, and scientifically quantifying their results with, control groups and the scientific method in the whole 9 yards. So it's a compelling argument. And I feel like, so going back to, why I felt like I need to do this, I feel like the problem that grit growth is meant to solve is that is a story that is, I think it's being told, but it's almost subconscious, and people aren't realizing it or acting upon it. So what I mean by that is, when you're a kid and you watch Disney movies, or a series on Netflix or whatever it is, what do you have? You have a main character, typically an underdog, right? And they overcome all sorts of overwhelming odds to some end, right? To some goal. And if it wasn't a long-term goal, then there wouldn't be multiple seasons of the show, or the movie wouldn't be 2 hours long, right? So
right.
It's almost, we're told this story and we all believe in it, right? Everybody loves an underdog.
Yeah.
So why don't people then enact that in their daily life? So that leads me to some more research. The research shows that people naturally, because of basically ancestry and for thousands and thousands of years, we had to fight for survival. We're looking for the easiest, subconsciously looking for the easiest, simplest, most comfortable life that we can possibly find. So when
are you going to Michael Easter comfort crisis here?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're a caveman, is it easier to live in a cave that has a berry bush right out the entrance and you never have to leave and you can just pick berries, or is it easier to go jump on the back of a saber-toothed tiger with your rock and try to smash its head? Right. That's
saber-toothed tiger, man.
Right. So
but it's about survival, right? What is a chance to, or how do you better your survival?
Well, and what was the more convenient, easier way to survive? The less risky way.
Right.
That's the way our brains were trained. And you go to the saber-toothed tiger because you have unlocked that secret that I'm talking about, which is to retrain your brain to embrace the struggle, embrace the pain. You know that you come out stronger and better on the other end of that pain and struggle. But a lot of people, I think, that's not clicking. It's not, either they're not aware of it, or they're not.
For centuries, our brain has conditioned us in order to survive. Again, you're looking for the easy. Now we've gotten to the point where the easy's too easy.
Right.
And our brain's still then saying, make it easier.
Right. Yeah,
so
because if you think about
your point, it's retraining.
Right. Yeah, it was hard for millennia, right? And then it's gotten easy and too easy over like 200 years. There's not that many generations in 200 years. So people that say we've evolved past that, or we've adapted beyond that, or whatever, I say baloney, because it's happened too fast, and obviously we're still falling into that trap, which is why tons of things. It's why the divorce here's where I'm going with it. It's why the divorce rate is through the roof, because people are avoiding the struggle, the awkward conversations to what's it going to take to fix what we broke. That's too hard, so we're just going to get a divorce and take the easy way out, right?
The whole ghosting now.
Yeah, exactly. Avoid hard conversation, right?
Yeah.
Avoid it like the plague. So divorce rate. Why are people not happy with their jobs? Everyone thinks the grass is greener somewhere else. Is it really easier somewhere else, or is it that it feels easier because you're going to enter into the honeymoon phase of something new, and then a year or two goes by and you're right back to being miserable? So at what point is the misery more internal, in the story you're telling yourself, and not being willing to overcome that struggle, as opposed to taking the easy way out? Same thing with obesity. So I'm tying this in. There's 4 conquer quadrants of life, I call them: physical, personal, people, and professional. So we talked, so physical, obesity, it's a lot easier to pull through and get a Big Mac and fries than it is to cook, grill some chicken and put it over a salad and have fresh greens, right?
Right.
And
it's harder to overcome your dopamine hit from sugar,
right?
In the brain science, versus having that protein and greens that maybe don't give that burst.
Right. Exactly. And even though you need it, that's the energy you need, it's just not easier.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying this from a place of patronizing or berating, because I've been there. I did it. I did the exact same thing. I weighed 50 pounds more, and I have to credit Noom, Noom. It's an app, but it's based in, again, psychology. It's the science behind why do we make these poor nutritional decisions that we make. And it was incredibly enlightening for me. Highly recommend it. But anyway, so that's the physical. And then I talked about divorce. Okay, that's a relationship, that's people. And then the 4th quadrant is
or professional.
Professional. So that's the grass is always greener. It'd be easier somewhere else, right? And then the last one is personal, which is internal, the story you're telling yourself. Why are you, if you wake up in the mirror, if you wake up and look in the mirror and you're not happy with yourself, why is that really, right? It's getting to know yourself, self-awareness, accountability, all these things that I think that obviously not everyone is missing, but lots of people are missing at least one, or grit in at least one of these quadrants. And I think that publishing this message in a long form format like a podcast, where we can really dive deep like this and get into the 4 quadrants, what grit really means, how do you apply it to each one. I hope that it will help people discover that for themselves the same way that I have over the last couple of years.
Now, have you told us the 4 quadrants of grit yet? I mean, we just talked about.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I skipped over that. So the 4 virtues of grit, I went with virtues because they're all V's. So the 4 virtues of grit: valor, vigilance, viability, and vigor. And anybody that wants to see more about this can check out the website too, www.gritgrowth.org. But basically, I define grit there right on the homepage when you open it up. Grit is the valor to seek your passion, the vigilance to hone it into your purpose, the viability to overcome all obstacles, and the vigor to endure. So that I took from the grit definition in psychology, which is basically valor is courage, right? To try, to experiment, to figure out, learn from yourself, learn about yourself. Get outside of
your comfort zone.
Get outside your comfort zone, right? Figure it out. Vigilance is basically intentionality, purposefulness, right? Exactly. So mindfulness, so it's doing these things with an end goal in mind. So grit really is dependent on a long-term goal that you're trying to achieve. What's the vision you have for not, it's not just a business or a company vision. What's the vision you have for yourself personally? So valor, vigilance, viability basically is the tenacity portion. It's like relentless, to overcome, to not take no for an answer, to always have one more, do the next action. What is the next step?
Yeah.
Keep moving forward. And then
chopping wood.
That's right. Keep chopping wood. Always chop more wood than you can burn tonight.
Yeah.
That's dad for you. And then the last one being vigor. That is the raw passion, emotion side of it, where you tap into, dig deep, what's inside, what do you love, what do you care about, why are you doing what you're doing. Can
we go back to the tiger, the inner tiger, the eye of the tiger?
Exactly, like Rocky. Yeah
man.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Going back to the movie thing, look at Rocky. How many millions of people have seen that
and love it, inspired by it?
Underdog. And there's 4, well, there was 4, now there's 6 or 7 movies, but all 4 he fought someone bigger, stronger, faster, better, right? Yeah. And why did he win?
Right. Perseverance. Grit.
Exactly. He went to frickin' Russia and trained in the snow because he's grittier than the steroid guy, right?
Right.
So perfect example. I mean,
Drago.
And Rocky, Rocky's just a normal guy from,
right?
Where was it? Philly.
Yeah.
Normal guy from Philly, right? If he
the
can
meat
do it,
packing plant, baby, hitting sides of beef, tenderizing that steak for
that's
you.
Right. if he can do it, anybody can do it. You
Right.
just got to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next, and don't give up, and don't take
Keep
no for
throwing
an answer.
punches. Throw another punch.
That's
Throw
it.
another punch. And
Exactly.
in Rocky's case, you take one.
Yeah.
You know, because he gets that vigor by taking about 30.
Yeah, that's right. He's like 7 rounds deep, and you just know he's
Yeah.
going to lose, and then he doesn't, and that's the beauty of it, and that's what people love. So I hope to inspire people to go into that next round of their life.
And of course, he lost when he lost his grit.
Right.
Clubber Lane, you know, he didn't train. He thought he had him.
That's
you know,
right.
the passion was gone. Got
complacent.
Hey, let's take it to real life. Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
There's a point where did Mike lose that passion?
Right.
He lost that eye of the tiger, you know, and it can happen to all of us.
Exactly. That's a great example.
This is great stuff. So you got the Conquer Quadrants of life. We've got our 4 virtues, you know, all hoping to inspire, wanting to inspire others to discover their own grit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. I think, so the problem I want to solve, you know, is that I feel in society today, you know, I say restore American grit because America is where I live, and that's my primary ecosystem and surroundings. But that really could just be phase 1. I think society, period, has a general lack of grit, passion, purpose, perseverance, and I relate it back to, you know, there was a time in American history not too long ago when divorce rate was not over 50%, and people were proud to work in the trades, construction trades, manufacturing, you know, think
industry,
right? Think Detroit, you know, for the Ford Motor Company, or
GM, Chrysler,
When people were proud to own, you know, and had ownership in that trade and what they built and what they created, at some point along the line, we got a negative connotation with that, and it lost its luster. And then guess what? The desire for kids to grow up and aspire to be that plummeted, and now we don't have it anymore. So and it's no matter what you think about that, you know, college is great. College has its place for certain professions and industries and everything. I'm not discounting the value of college, but it's undeniable that the lack of that trade manufacturing workforce in America is detrimental to everybody, because if your toilet breaks and you can't flush it, you need that guy, right? And if a hurricane comes and blows your roof off, you need those guys to fix it. It's absolutely pivotal to have, and right now there's a huge gap between supply and demand.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to American grit, because when you really think of the Americas, right, there's the United States and then there's the Americas,
right?
And American grit to even transcend borders, and you look at probably a majority of agricultural, construction, skilled labor at this point in time is filled with those from the Americas, mainly Southern Mexico, Central America, South America.
Right.
You know, what's driving their passion? Because, you know, I can tell you, I look out right now and I've got, you know, United States citizens leaving at 3:30 because, you know, that's when the clock ticks. And I've got people from the Americas working until 6 or 7 at night because they're probably living for a bigger passion.
Right.
You know, out there. I mean, what, you know, is that grit that's driving them?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a form of grit. I think they understand their why. And of course, I don't want to speak for them. I think I speak for a portion of them, though, when I say that their why for doing that is their families. A lot of their families are not here. They're making that extra money and sending most of it back home, right? And I go back to the comfort crisis, is that those United States citizens' families are probably comfortable. Those guys, it's easy. Those guys don't feel the need to make extra and do more, because it doesn't change. They don't perceive it anyway as changing their or their family's quality of life. They're going to be comfortable either way. But the Hispanic or South American or Latino family may or may not be so comfortable in another country, and we as Americans take that for granted.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, you go back to kind of the priorities of survival and kind of get back to shelter, right?
Yeah.
Food, water,
right. Exactly.
Heck, I mean, some, you get to the point of, okay, I've got all those things, right? Back to comfort. I've got all those things. I can be comfortable. And that's not to say don't enjoy life.
Right.
But it's also the realization that there's times when you got to get gritty to see things through. And if you don't know what real grit is, putting one step and having those hardships, you lose sight of what a true hardship is. And when the internet goes out, that's a hardship. Right. Wi-Fi's down. What the?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Come on, Netflix.
Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What? The oven doesn't work. How am I going to cook my food?
Right.
Go build a fire. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll put meat on a stick. I mean, it's a corn dog, but you know what?
Yeah. No, but we're so far removed from that in just a couple generations.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I think it goes, so the grittiness of that story, it goes back to, first you have to explore to discover what you're passionate about. But if you don't have the opportunity to explore, when I say explore, I'm talking about a high school kid in America with all the opportunities in the world to learn, to Google and YouTube and learn this and learn that and try different jobs and go work in retail and go work in a restaurant and then go work construction and find out what you like. But if you don't have that opportunity, you're still going to be passionate about something. I think it's a basic human need to have passion. So if you have a family, I think what I'm talking about is that you're passionate about that almost automatically. And
yes.
So
there's no doubt the switch is flipped when you see your firstborn and you realize, holy cow, I've got a totally different purpose right now.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And I got to get gritty in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
That might just be keeping my cool when the baby's screaming at me because it's got gas pains man, I got to make sure that I'm providing, whatever parent that is that needs to provide monetarily and the parent that needs to provide emotionally, and you're both providing for each other to stay sane, all the way through.
Right.
But priorities change quick.
Exactly. And that is grit in a pure and natural form as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man, good stuff. So, I mean, what would you want people to learn from the podcast, going forward? Why should they keep listening? Why should they tune in? Why,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my hope, and selfishly true, to be honest, I hope that I get just as much out of it as anyone listening. And I think what you're going to get out of it is you tend to be like the people you surround yourself with. And I think that you pick up through osmosis things that you hear and ingest, right? What you consume is going to obviously affect what your output. So I think that anybody who aspires to be gritty or grittier, right? Until you're I don't know, Tim Kennedy or Cameron Haynes or somebody like that, you can always get grittier. So, and that's where I'm at. So I'm hoping that that I gain knowledge from all these stellar people that we're bringing on, so I know that if I am, then other people will too.
Absolutely. To help people, find their passion, and find ways to take one more step,
Right.
to overcome adversity, to see their goals come true.
Right. And see what, maybe a person who's kind of on the fence about a major life decision, whether it be career based or marriage, or divorce or whatever it is. If they hear someone else's story, it kind of gives them permission to take that action. If it's can be unparalyzing to hear how it worked out for somebody else, or how it didn't, and what they had to overcome after it didn't. Right. So,
and the fact that they overcame whatever,
right.
Yeah.
They overcame it. They're not stuck. So grit is not all butterflies and rainbows, and every step you take isn't going to be just, a stroll on the beach, but
kind of the opposite.
Right. It might get really hard until it doesn't. If you keep getting one more step, one more push, one more try, eventually it gets easier. Right. And you also have to tell yourself that story as well to keep your own sanity while you're going through it.
Right. No, great stuff. So the idea right now with the podcast is, interviewing those in the community who have shown grit. And I think this first phase is about entrepreneurs, business, kind of focused in on that side of it. Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
All right.
That's right.
Anything else you want to leave the listener with as we embark on these podcasts, this journey, hopefully ways we can help them?
Yeah, definitely. If you find any inspiration from this at all, or have any questions or want to know more about someone we've talked to or some career path that you've been introduced to here, please reach out. Go to the website and there's a contact me form. Come straight to my email. We're not some big corporate machine with a answering service or a receptionist or anything. It's just me. So send it in, contact me. I want to help. I want to serve. I'm trying to give back. I found success in the construction industry, and I love it, but I also feel like maybe I have a little bit more to give than just that little micro economy of my company or the construction industry. I think there's more good to be done. So that's what I want to do. And awesome. Sign up, follow us on social media, sign up for email updates and stuff like that. We're going to have basically, of course, as the podcasts come out, we'll continue to let everybody know about that. The video podcast will be on YouTube. The audio will be on Apple and Spotify. I also want to have several blog posts. I'm trying to basically provide value for free. I'm trying to put free information out there. And I hope that in turn, people will latch onto it and learn from it and get value from it, and spread the word, let other people know, and get the movement moving.
Pay it forward, baby.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, Carson, I got quite a few notes just from our discussion here, and I mean, heck, we've been talking a lot, over the past few months, and something I learned, was kind of your relationship with your wife, and kind of that realization of, hey, that was an attraction point for me, was her grit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome. And so here you are in your marriage with children, yet then realizing what some of those attraction points are, which only help the relationship go forward.
Definitely.
It's a better understanding of yourself, her and your relationship and what your relationship one can take, but what it can do for each other.
Definitely.
So that's pretty awesome.
It's one of those things, again, we talk about the subconscious mind and what it's processing. I forget the statistics, but the subconscious mind can do, I don't know, 10 million times more things than the conscious mind can do, or something like that, processes. But yeah, I mean, I kind of intuitively always knew that about her, I think. But again, the time alone with myself and my thoughts made it bubble up from the subconscious into the conscious. And it was kind of a realization like, oh wow, that's I would call it divine intervention, that she embodies that so well. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, and I hope to have her on one day to tell her story, but she embodies it so well. And I was basically had it driven into me as a child, and it became such a big part of my life. And I think it's the primary factor for my success. And I just, I would call it divine intervention that, we met in high school, and she wasn't even zoned for my high school, but she rode the bus for an hour every day to get there, an hour one way every day to get there.
Just for you?
No, but I was there and it worked out. So, yeah, I think that my grit, is 100% the reason for my success that I've had in the construction business, among other things. That's not the only reason, of course, but your mentoring, I would say, is another reason. So appreciate that. But yeah, I just read Cameron Haynes's book. Actually, I didn't read it. I listened to it, which I highly recommend. Endure. And it's basically, I feel like, my story is much less exciting and public and dramatic than his, but I feel like my success is attributed to the same reason. I don't think I'm special or talented any more so than the average guy, but I do work harder. I will not be outworked or outtried. And I know that about myself, but that doesn't make it easier to say out loud. I'm still, I don't know. I have a tendency to try to be more humble about it, but again, if it can help someone else, then I don't want to keep it inside anymore. I want to help other people with it as well. And if you feel like you're not special and you're not talented, and you look at other people and say, oh, it must be nice, must be easy if I had all this money, if I had all these followers, if I had a company, whatever it is, those guys didn't start with that. They started average, and they started with nothing. And
just slap that victim mentality out of yourself.
Right. And you have that opportunity. You just have to seize it and have the valor to seize it and get after it and go get it. And don't take no for an answer.
Get after it, baby.
That's it. Grit growth, get after it.
So, well, Carson, thank you. I want to thank you for including me on this journey. I'm very humbled that you have, that you've trusted in me to one, just divulge in the beginning, hey, I'm writing this book. I mean, that I appreciate the confidence you had in me, and I appreciate your courage to do it and your courage to say it and get it out there. And I'm really excited for and looking forward to this journey with you in the podcast and discovering people's grit and being part of the movement. So thank you for letting me jump on the coattails and, be part of it.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your mentoring over the years for sure. It's been a rocky road with ups and downs. We haven't always seen eye to eye. No. But we've come a long way, and here we are. And I think
we've had the hard conversations.
Yeah,
we didn't shy away from it.
Exactly.
And we're okay because of it.
Yeah, and we're fine. Yep. Better. Right. Better off because of it. Don't shy away from it. Just grab the bull by the horns.
Oh yeah, I remember the door, the knock on the door, the door closing, the sign, the sit downs. All right, let's get this out. All right, Carson, let's do it.
Hopefully, my
awesome.
speaking confidence and delivery has improved since then. But if nothing else, the podcast will help with that too. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Well, very good.
Good stuff.
Onward. Looking forward to it, brother.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Talk again soon.
Thank you for listening to the Grit Growth Podcast with host Carson Stefanelli and Matt Webster. We sincerely hope you were inspired by the interview and found at least one useful tool or tactic to implement in your own life. Now, level up by taking immediate action. Apply one lesson learned to your life as soon as possible to make sure it sticks. Post it and tag us to increase accountability. You can join the Grit Growth movement to restore American grit to its former glory by building an unprecedented force of conquerors, both in business and in life, at www.gritgrowth.org and wherever you're active on the socials. Please also drop a rating and review on your podcast app, as it goes a long way in helping the movement gain traction. Now, don't let this inspiration go to waste. Commit to conquer. Lead your life. Leave a legacy. Gather your grit and go get after it.